In this video, I'm going to talk about the 7 most common working models of manifestation. If you've studied manifestation for any length of time, you've most likely run across many different descriptions of how manifesting works. Some people talk about the law of attraction. Others talk about the law of assumption. Some people call it the law of reflection. Other people talk about working with spiritual entities in order to manifest your objectives. All of these different methods of describing how manifesting works are all what I call working models of manifestation. Because the bottom line is that we really don't know the actual mechanics of how manifesting works, but we can describe various models, various symbolic realities that seem to be appropriate in different situations for different people. So I'm going to talk about the 7 most common working models of manifestation, and you can pick whichever one feels right to you, whichever one makes the most sense to your mind. So the first 4 that I'm going to talk about can be described as natural laws of the universe, the way reality is. And these tend to appeal to those who are more scientifically minded, people who like the idea of working with the law of gravity or the laws of thermodynamics or aerodynamics or fluid dynamics or electricity. People who like the scientific ideas and methods tend to gravitate towards these first 4 working models. The first one that I'll talk about is the law of attraction. This one was very popular about 15 years ago. And the idea here is that when you are thinking about certain things, when you are feeling certain things, when you have a certain level of belief in things, all of these states of consciousness are described as a vibration. It's like you're vibrating to a certain frequency. And the law of attraction is based on the idea that when you vibrate to a particular frequency, the world around you is either attracted to you or repelled by you, depending on that specific frequency. The way this is normally described is if you want to attract more abundance into your life, you need to resonate to the frequency of abundance. If you want to attract more love into your life, you have to resonate to the frequency of love. And so if you are thinking and feeling and believing in lack and limitation, that would attract more lack and limitation into your life, and it would repel the abundance. So that's where it acts like a magnet. If you like the idea of attracting certain things into your sphere of influence and repelling other things, then the law of attraction may be a good working model for you. Another working model that seems to be more popular these days is coming from the writings of Neville Goddard, and it's something that he called the law of assumption. Now, personally, I don't like the phrasing of that. I like the idea. I love the idea, but I don't like the phrasing of it because the assumption is the method of activating whatever natural law is actually producing the manifestation. It's not the law itself. So I don't like the wording of law of assumption because when you assume that what you want will actually happen, you are activating the manifesting process. In fact, all manifesting processes eventually result in a belief that what you want will actually happen, and that is the assumption part of it. There are slight differences in the methodology, but it's close enough for right now. So this law of assumption basically says that when you assume that what you want will actually happen, it does in fact happen. It doesn't exactly describe how it happens, and that's okay because the honest truth is we really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But one way of describing how it happens could be the law of attraction. When you assume things, things are attracted to you. It could also be described as what I would call the law of reflection, which is another idea, another one of these natural laws of the universe, another one of these working models, to put it into terms of this video. A law of reflection basically says that whatever you believe inside yourself, whatever your consciousness is expressing within yourself, that is reflected in the world around you. So that if you are, again, going back to the idea of resonating to a particular frequency, if you are resonating to the frequency of love, then love will be reflected back to you in the world around you. If you are resonating to a frequency of abundance, then abundance will be reflected back to you. Now, the big difference between the law of attraction and the law of reflection is that with the working model of the law of attraction, you can only manifest things that already exist. The idea of attracting things to you presupposes that the things that you want already exist. If you wanted to manifest something that has never existed before, and it would be kind of difficult to really come up with ideas on that, but let's just pretend that we have an idea of something that we'd like to manifest that has never existed before. With the law of attraction, you're kind of stuck, because if it doesn't exist, then how can you attract it? With the law of reflection, you can imagine something that has never existed before, and that will be reflected, just like anything you put in front of a mirror will be reflected by that mirror. So the law of reflection comes from a very old idea that life is a mirror. And so this is a very long-standing working model of the way manifesting works. So the fourth law of the universe, the working model that I want to talk about, isn't really a law, or it's not ever expressed in that way, but it's expressed in the idea of parallel realities. And the idea here is that at every point where a decision can be made, or at every point where chance is a variable, where different things could happen, the idea is that at that point, there are multiple realities created in that moment, and all of them exist on one dimension or another. So the idea of, if you had a choice between taking one job or another job, there's one reality where you took the first job, and there's another reality where you took the second job, and then every decision point branches off to a new reality. And so with this working model, since all realities, all possibilities exist, there's a possible reality where you were born into a family that had tons of money. There's another possibility, another possible reality where you decided you liked blue instead of red, or vice versa, all different possibilities. It says, the idea here is that since all possibilities currently exist in one dimension or another, if you can find a way to just simply shift from one dimensional reality to another dimensional reality, then your entire life can change in the blink of an eye. And so this idea of parallel reality, sometimes it's called timeline jumping, to jump from one timeline to another where different conditions, different events took place. This idea is a valid working model because there are situations where it does seem like everything can change in a moment. So this is a good working model. In fact, I will mention this. At one point in time, when I was at my lowest point, trying to figure all this stuff out, I ran across a book called, I think it was The Super Beings. And there was this idea of different realities and switching from one reality to another. And I spent about 10 minutes just thinking about, what would it be like to have everything in my life change just in a split second? And so I was imagining myself going from one life to another. In one life, I was a fairy princess. In another life, I was a doctor. In another life, I was an astronaut. In another life, I was a coal miner. In another life, I was Indian shaman. And I was just bouncing from all these realities inside my mind. And the benefit that I got out of that experience, the benefit that really helped me by just simply taking 10 minutes and imagining all this was that it helped me loosen my hold on the way reality has to be. It's like, okay, this reality may have only existed for a second. My reality is going to change. My reality is going to change. And by having that thought, having that belief that anything can change in a moment and that everything can change in a moment, that let me mentally and emotionally disconnect from the negative situation that I was in at that time. And it helped me imagine a better future for myself, which was necessary for me to manifest that better future. So, this idea of timeline jumping or switching from one parallel dimension to another can be beneficial, even if you don't truly believe that it's possible, because sometimes just playing with ideas, it can help in a variety of different ways. So, those were the four scientifically minded working models. There are a few others that are more spiritually focused and more creative artistically. The first one of these that I will talk about is something that everyone has heard about. It's the idea of prayer. The idea of praying to a divine being and asking for help and saying, okay, I've got this situation. There's no way I can handle this on my own. Can you please do it for me? And this can be a great working model because it presupposes that there is some power in the universe that is greater than yourself. And so you do not have to bear the responsibility of changing your own reality. You can hand that task off, you can delegate that to somebody who is more capable than you are. And so prayer can be a great working model as long as you believe that there is somebody listening to that prayer and there's somebody who will respond to that prayer and someone who can respond in a way that makes the things happen that you want to have happen. So prayer can be good as long as it is something that you resonate with. It's not something that I ever resonated with, and so it's a working model that didn't really work for me, but it works for a lot of people. And so it's another option that you may choose for yourself. Similar to this, there's this very old idea called thought forms. And the idea here is that when you separate yourself from the physical world around you and you mentally engage in this process, what you do is you take the energy, the thoughts, the emotions that you have within yourself about the thing that you would like to manifest, and you siphon off some of your energy into a separate ball of energy. And this separate ball of energy is what they call the thought form. And you pour everything you can into this separate ball of energy. You're basically giving birth to a spiritual entity. You are creating life on a spiritual level, is basically what this working model is. And you program in this thought form with what you want to have happen, the conditions that you want to create in your life. And you give it the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the energy that it needs to accomplish the goal. And then once you feel that you have done everything you need to do with this, you take this ball of energy and you send it out into the world to do the work for you. Again, you're delegating the work to somebody else or something else that can do the work for you. It's kind of like creating a robot, creating a machine that will make things happen for you. So you don't have to think of it as creating life, but you can create a metaphysical mechanical device that will do the work for you. That actually can be considered a separate working model, either creating life or creating a mechanical thing. It's essentially the same thing, but still two slightly different ways of viewing it, which may be enough to classify it as a separate working model. But okay, so there's that idea. And then the last idea that I want to talk about in this video is something that personally I resonate with a lot. And it's something that I use quite often. And this is similar to the thought form idea, except for instead of siphoning off part of your own spiritual essence and letting that go as a separate entity, you basically imagine that Separate from your body, or at least connected to your body, you have a spiritual body. And there's a lot of literature throughout history that talk about different bodies that we have. We have physical body, we have an emotional body, we have a mental body, we have a etheric body, we have an astral body, we have a spiritual body. I mean, there's all different kinds of bodies that have been written about throughout history that we have. But if you think about having a spiritual body that is greater than your physical body, and to manipulate the world around you, all you have to do is reach out with that spiritual body, take hold of whatever it is that you want to change, and then move it and manipulate it and change it however you need to with that spiritual body, whether you're dealing with hands or something else. You manipulate the world around you, and usually for me it's the hands, but you can mentally also send out a portion of your mind, your senses, your eyes, your ears, and see and hear things that are happening in other places. This idea, this working model, is basically the idea that you can extend a spiritual essence of yourself into other places to accomplish the work directly. So I like the idea of doing the work myself. That is what resonates with me. And so that's why this working model tends to be my favorite. I also like the idea of the law of reflection, that I can just simply create an image inside my mind, give it life and feeling, and have it reflected in the world around me. I like that idea. I tend to use both of these ideas interchangeably depending on the situation. So here I've given you 7 different working models of how you can visualize, imagine, conceptualize the manifesting process. And you can think about manifesting in any which way that works for you. Like I said, these are just the 7 most popular ways. There could be millions of different ways of imagining the manifesting process. And you're perfectly free to work with any system, any concept that you want in terms of manifesting. The bottom line with manifesting, it doesn't really matter what you do. It really doesn't matter how you do it. What matters is the result that you get. And the result that produces the manifesting effort is believing that what you have done, whatever that may be, what you have done will produce the results you want. And that is the major reason why you will find videos on YouTube, websites that say, do this thing, you will get this result. And they will even say it works whether you believe in it or not. Because if you accept that idea, you do believe that it will work. And that belief is what makes it work. So, bottom line in all manifesting, whatever you can do, whatever you can imagine, whatever floats your boat that helps you believe that what you want will actually happen, that will work for you. So, hopefully I've given you some good ideas to work with. And until next time, be blessed, my friend.